The God Paradox. I don't have much else to say. I don't know what to say. All I know is that the video might be interesting. Okay? I thought hey, look, it sounds just like The God Paradox. Coming to a theater near you. The God Paradox. Okay, yeah, no. I just thought it sounded interesting. So, let's watch it. Maybe it'll be interesting. Maybe we'll learn what is the paradox of God. Because God, that's something everybody knows. I mean, what person alive today has not heard God, has not thought about, what we, usually identify as God? Like, they might not call it God, but, like, who hasn't thought about that which we have labeled God,
Welcome back
It's pretty universal.
I'm Muraresku,
but it's also different for everybody what God is. But we've all think about
Karen Armstrong. She is one of the world's best-known living writers on religion, and also a heroine of mine. And today we'll be talking about the mysticism of antiquity,
like the drug,
and what that all means for us today.
Like a hero.
So, without further ado, let's dive in.
Okay.
Si enim comprehendis, non est Deus. If you think you've understood God,
is that Latin?
That ain't God. These words were penned by Saint Augustine roughly 1600 years ago. Now, whether you're a person of faith, no faith at all, or somewhere in between, it matters how we define God as a species. Strange as it sounds, the fate of the planet could very well depend on our definition of God. Again, even if that word means nothing to you, or it conjures vague images of an elderly man with a beard sitting in the clouds, or maybe it's synonymous with organized religion, institutions, traditions, beliefs, which, for you, might be the compass of your existence, or just utterly irrelevant. For all of us, the definition of God matters. It says everything about how we understand ourselves, how we treat each other in the earth with its abundance of life.
I think the texts kind of pop up on the right, so I might put myself like somewhere down here probably.
And how we grapple with the mystery of the cosmos.
Oh shit!
I always turn to Joseph Campbell to help explain.
Holy. Wait, I should probably not be cursing in this video. Come to think about it, this is a holy video, man. Stop the cursing here. Okay?
Thought. God is an idea.
He is.
But its reference is to something that transcends all thinking.
Okay.
So there's a paradox.
Okay, I get that. So it's like, it can be an idea. It's a thought. It's different for everybody else, but it always gets conjured up in here somehow, right? This brain thing. I don't know if it's a quirk of evolution and our biology, but like everybody born with a brain like this would probably at some point I don't know what the processes going on in the brain are, but they would think about what we have labeled as God, as a collective. They might, like I said, they might not call it God, but we've all thought about it. So, thinking about an idea, it's an idea, and you're thinking. So, the idea of God is that which transcends all thinking. So, it's the thought about the thought that transcends all thought. So it's kind of a paradox in that way. And that's interesting.
And that's kind of the whole point. Si comprehendis, non est Deus. God, whatever that means, is not something to be understood by the rational mind. No institution can claim ownership. In fact, the word's meaningless. Following up on Augustine, the Jesuit Karl Rahner, one of the most influential theologians of the 20th century, was no fan of God. Said we shouldn't use the word for 50 years. It confused his notion of God as the holy mystery, incomprehensible and impenetrable, above us, around us, but also within us. Despite the paradox, there can be no defining God without us. In the ancient world,
because there needs to be a human to define it. Otherwise, dead matter that doesn't consciously think, unless if you're a panpsychist, but we're not going to get into that. Dead matter that doesn't consciously think could not possibly explore or experiment or experience or see in any way, shape, or form. It couldn't create the idea. It couldn't conjure about even, what do you call it? Having that thought. Dead matter can't have no thought. Think about a star. Is a star gonna think about God? No, I don't think we don't really know. We probably could never know, and that's what's great about the universe, that there's no capital T truth, and you can never really be too certain about anything. But it's like, imagine a star, or just of the vacuum of space. Is some dust cloud in the vacuum of space? Is space itself a star, a planet, something? A supernova, asteroid? Is an asteroid going to think about the holy mystery? No, we need to be here, and we're gonna use the medium of language, right? The vocab, the linguistic, everything that we use, right? That's God. God is us using linguistics to talk about that which is beyond the thought. But if we are not there to have the thought, then we can't have the thought about that which is beyond thought. Damn! Shit! Oh, I don't know. Sorry, I can't be Carson.
Karl Rahner definition could be found across the world's religions, from east to west. In Confucianism, qi was the essence of being, a force the Chinese regarded as unknowable, recondite. For a Taoist, this sacred force was at the heart of mundane existence.
That might just be a little too simple.
This vital energy flows through us in some mysterious way. In Hinduism, God isn't a dude in the clouds. It's Brahman, the foundation of all reality, the beingness on which all things depend. Atman, on the other hand, is our individual soul. In the Advaita Vedanta school of Hinduism, that Atman is identical to Brahman, the ultimate reality. In other words, divinity resides in us. In Buddhism, there's no personal God, but that compassionate mystery could be called the essence of the entire cosmos, an eternal, permanent, immutable, pure, and self-sufficient force that unites all beings.
Mysterious, God being mysterious is the essence of the cosmos for them.
Draws them into a coherent whole and universally illumines the human mind,
being mysterious might
enabling us to cultivate a capacity for goodness. Now, these Eastern definitions of God come from the preeminent scholar Karen Armstrong. The author of a couple dozen books, translated into 45 languages,
just listen to Alan Watts if you want that.
As the world's best-known living writer on religion.
Oh, shit.
Before becoming a lover of comparative theology, she was a Catholic nun for about 7 years.
Really?
Till she realized she was bad at praying and wanted nothing to do with God. So Armstrong began looking to the sages, mystics, and prophets of antiquity. Her focus was the Axial Age, that period between the 8th and 3rd centuries BC, when many of our religions came into being. Not just Confucianism and Taoism in East Asia, or Hinduism and Buddhism in South Asia, but the mysteries of the Greco-Roman world at the root of Western civilization, and the rise of the Abrahamic faiths, Judaism, what would later become Christianity, and eventually Islam. It's called axial because so much of our cultural history turns on this ancient age. In fact, if you just add up the Christians, Muslims, Hindus, and Buddhists of today, in big round numbers, that's about 6 of the planet's 8 billion people.
It's funny how Christianity makes up most of it. I remember one time, this one person, my dad actually. Wait, no, it wasn't my dad. I don't think so. It was somebody, though. I don't know if I just dreamt it, but they were like, I know my religion to be true. I asked him, how do you know your religion to be true? Now, there's a lot of, they gave a lot of answers, but one of them, which always stuck out to me, was, do you really think this many people could be wrong? Look how many people believe. Do you think this many people could be wrong? Are you stupid? Do you think this many people could be wrong? It's just like, well, you're completely fine accepting that more than the amount of people that believe in your religion are completely wrong. It's like, they don't make up more than 50%. It's only 30. Which is not, only 30 is like, only 30. That's, wow. But
round numbers, that's about 6 of the planet's 8 billion people. At their core,
that's a lot of people.
Armstrong sees more similarity than difference. After years of devouring her books, I finally reached out for a conversation. The incomprehensible God of the East, that sacred force, could also be found in the West, she reminded me. Once upon a time, before the scientific revolution of the 16th and 17th centuries confined God to the sky, the monotheistic faiths had the same idea as the East. Don't forget about Thomas Aquinas, said Armstrong.
Monotheistic.
Perhaps the most influential Christian thinker of the medieval period.
He had the right idea about God. He said, God is everywhere, and wherever God is there holy. So God is in every single leaf, every single tree, is everywhere. It transfuses nature. And that was exactly the way the peoples of the world had always cultivated their sense of the world as sacred and divine.
Sacred and divine, though? What do you mean? Like, doesn't the natural world, wouldn't that just be like, is something that's, like, the natural world is as sacred and divine? As if sacred and divine is not already a pre-built condition of the world. It's sacred to us. It's, well, I mean, you can look at the aurora, you can look at something beautiful and you can call it divine. Look at this horse. Seems pretty divine to me. Seems pretty sacred to me. Isn't that just kind of a condition, though? Like an add-on that it comes with? It's not like, oh, there is the natural world, but it's also divine and, you know, sacred. It's like, those any different? I think, like, are you saying God just is nature? Is that a different word for nature or existence itself? Like, why not just call it reality, existence? That which is, that is God. Like, instead of saying that which is, you just say God. This is God. But it's a phone, really. But, you know, we're going to call it God because it's that which is not contained. Because it's difficult, man. I don't know. You're talking about some really broad stuff. I don't know.
Not as a God stuck up in the heavens, but as a force, a sacred force that imbues the whole of reality.
That reality includes
the whole
us.
of reality. So it's like an
God is
being.
not separate from us. Agree the traditions of the axial age.
Oh, you getting into Alan right here?
We participate in divinity. We carry a divine spark. But it's tough to find that spark or experience that incomprehensible God until we stand outside ourselves. As Armstrong herself came to realize, it wasn't about praying to or worshiping the external God.
Outside of ourselves, that's an ego reference. He's going to say we are God. Shouts out Alan Watts. First one I ever heard it from. The moment I heard that idea, I was instantly so attracted towards it. Because I was like, yes, man. I would love to be called a God. And that just reminds me, I need to become a lord. No. That's for different.
Out of her youth, story. Or engaging in cold research, merely thinking and writing about all things holy. Her encounter with the mystery occurred when scholarship became ecstasy. By dwelling on each text, each idea, each spirituality, she imagined herself actually feeling the rapture of these ancient sages, mystics, and prophets.
And there were moments in my study when I would occasionally feel touched by some form of awe or wonder or delight. I realized my work was becoming a kind of meditation.
Come on, dog.
The kind of meditation that I'd been unable to do in the convent.
There's that paradox again. The rational, discursive mind, engaged in scholarship, spontaneously interrupted by an experience of awe that transcends thinking. A mystery on paper becomes a mystery of the heart. The personal God that Armstrong could never find becomes the impersonal Brahman of the East, or the God of Thomas Aquinas that imbues the whole of reality. Interestingly, it's this definition of God that also captivated Albert Einstein. Referring to the 17th century Jewish philosopher Baruch Spinoza, Einstein once wrote, I believe in Spinoza's God, who reveals himself in the lawful harmony of the world. In a separate letter, dated February 12, 1950, Einstein went further. A human being is a part of the whole, called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings, as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion.
How can it be limited if nothing can be unlimited? Or don't they depend on each other? Unlimited. How is it limited? What? How's it limited? How is space limited? It's just that which is. How are you going to say it's limited? Limited how? In comparison to what? It's that which is.
Of his consciousness. The striving to free oneself from this delusion is the one issue of true religion.
His thoughts, himself, his thoughts, feelings. You're saying he, him, he's, his, as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. The striving to free oneself from the delusion is the one... What? the one goal, the one issue of true religion. Please elaborate.
That freeing oneself from the confines of the ego,
Okay, ego.
that moment of ecstasy, that experience of eternity right here and now, which Joseph Campbell called the function of life, seems to be the answer for scholars like Armstrong, scientists like Einstein, and the mystics in the footnotes of history. The esoteric traditions of each Abrahamic faith embrace this paradoxical definition of God. At the root of our true self, past the optical delusion, maybe we're all gods and goddesses in disguise.
That's what Alan Watts was saying. That you're playing the ultimate game of hide and seek, is pretending you're not God. Right? That's the ultimate movie. That's the ultimate play, is that you are here to pretend that you are not him. Pretend that you are not God. That's right. That's right. Persona, a mask. That's where we get person. It's a persona. It comes from the Latin word persona. It's like those people that used to be in plays. They used to wear a mask. I remember my Alan Watts teachings. I remember those.
In the immortality key, I included a few examples. The Sufis, the mystics of Islam, have been called the impatient ones. Rather than wait until their actual physical death, the spiritual experts of the world's second biggest religion seek the recovery of one's full identity in this lifetime. Rumi, the 13th century Sufi master, put it this way: if you could get rid of yourself just once, the secret of secrets would open to you. The face of the unknown, hidden beyond the universe, would appear on the mirror of your perception.
Wait, hold on. If you could get rid of yourself just once, you could do that more than once, the secrets would open up to you. The face of the unknown. Get rid of yourself just once. Does that mean ego? I'm guessing. The secrets would open up to you if you have no ego. The face of the unknown, hidden beyond the universe. The face of the unknown. That which is unknown. There's a lot of unknowns. Hidden beyond the universe would appear on the mirror of your perception. So you would see God in the mirror if you got rid of the ego.
Likewise, the Kabbalists, the mystics of Judaism, pursue self-annihilation to reach the world of the divine nothingness, ayin in Hebrew. Rabbi Lawrence Kushner, a modern-day scholar, says, just as the death of each creature is in turn a rehearsal for the death of a species and a galaxy and a cosmos, the great rhythm of going out and returning, now this kind of death is not an end, but only the beginning of a transformation that will generate a rebirth. You cannot be reborn until you are willing to die. The German theologian Meister Eckhart lived a generation after Rumi. He was the mystic par excellence of medieval Christianity. Like the Sufis and the Kabbalists, Meister Eckhart emphasized the practice of self-nullification. If you could not yourself for an instant, indeed I say less than an instant, you would possess all. In her new book, Sacred Nature, Karen Armstrong highlights this self-emptying as the potential answer to the survival of our species and the planet. There's a word for it in Greek, kenosis. Without it, there is no transcendence of the self, which means there's no real compassion for others, for plant and animal life, for the earth herself. People are just annoying things, and everything else, an object, a resource, a world devoid of meaning where no one and nothing carries that divine spark. While most of the world is focused on global emissions and carbon neutrality, Armstrong is asking us to seriously reconsider our definition of God as the dude in the cloud and to practice the self-annihilation, the self-nullification of kenosis to actually experience that mystical God of Einstein.
Yeah, but you're not taking into account like the people are just annoying things. The world has no meaning. Well, you're saying that is meaning. That's not saying that there's no meaning. You're making the claim. You're saying the meaning is that there is no meaning. Like, that's weird. You're claiming there is no meaning. That is claiming to know that you've seen and you've gone to a place where you can find meaning and you have found that there is no meaning there, which is like, no, you have not. You can make meaning, but people want to be given meaning. But nonetheless, you're not taking into account, like, the Abrahamic religion God. Well, not that they're not taking into account. They've talked about him plenty of times. It's just like, you're basically saying, are they making an argument that this is who God really is? Because, like, fair. I'm not religious. I don't care. But it's also like, damn, some motherfuckers consider him to be the guy in the sky. I mean, I can see how that's super, like, flawed. That is super stupid. But, like, I don't know. Because the story has always been, Jesus is, it's like, oh, well, Mike, if you're just a Christian, Jesus is God. He resurrected, and he's going to come back someday. And you refer to him as he. Him, he. And then there's Satan, these people that are embodiments somewhere. They're nowhere. We've never seen them. But that's what faith is all about. It's not about that which is true, which can be confirmed through our sensory experiences. It's that which you must believe in, even if you cannot see it, which you will not see it ever.
Nullification of kenosis to actually experience.
So basically, you're like praising this kind of God.
Gus Speth, founder of the National Resource Defense Council, might tend to agree. I used to think the top environmental problems facing the world were global warming, environmental degradation, and ecosystem collapse, and that we scientists could fix those problems with enough science. But I was wrong. The real problem is not those 3 items, but greed, selfishness, and apathy. And for that, we need a spiritual and cultural transformation. And we scientists don't know how to do that. But the Buddha did. Enter the science of compassion. Before we turned yoga into sexy exercise,
that's still selfish,
and meditation into a great way to relax.
Being that guy is still
this
selfish.
Was the origin of contemplative practice.
But the whole point of getting enlightenment is to get rid of the self, as it were, to subdue the ego. And the Buddha, it happened to him as a little boy first. The story is that one day he was taken out to watch the ceremony of the first ploughing of the fields. And he looked and he saw that the ploughing had killed a lot of little insects and wild animals and plants, which were all lying, dying and dead. And a great sorrow filled his heart. And it took him completely out of himself. And it said that he sat immediately in the yogic tradition and achieved a yogic trance. We often see him, don't we, with a sort of inward looking, peaceful and almost looking down within himself. Not at all. The texts tell us that he spent his time sending his thoughts out to every corner of the world and not leaving it until he had adopted a sense of equanimity, respect, and love for every single one of these creatures, whether they were pleasant or unpleasant, whether they were beautiful or ugly, even if they seemed evil. And that was how he achieved enlightenment.
That's pretty good kenosis, a high bar. But we're not all called to be Buddhas. Instead, Armstrong suggests a little death every day, hour by hour. Whether that's the Confucian practice of quiet sitting, just getting off social media.
So that's what it is, you demonize, you villainize. Everybody has a problem that they have at the root of their religion. It's like, what is evil for the Abrahamic religions? Sin. Doing bad things. The devil. It's like, that is what evil is. It's human nature. Our sins. For the Eastern religions, mostly it's, they all have this, like, universal, it's monism. It's like they have this thing that they will claim and they will build everything else on top of it, right? Which claim stands. We know the goodness of meditation. It actually helps. So, like, the claim is not a bad one, but your claim is all of the world's pain comes from the ego. So if you could just get rid of the ego, you can experience what everybody in the world is told to want, and more often than not, just naturally wants, which is happiness. And they say the only thing stopping you from that is this thing that gets in the way called your ego for this kind of religion. The religion actually has, religion, but like, the ego has its uses. Like, it's not something that you should get rid of completely 100% of the time. Like, trust me, motherfuckers that succeed, and if you're living in this society, in my place in time and history, you need a little bit of ego. Because the motherfuckers that get to the top of anything, they have an ego. Okay, they have a really big ego, and they succeed. Okay, I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. If you want to succeed in a lot of things, you're going to need a little bit of ego. Ego has its uses. It's helpful a lot of the times. Don't completely get rid of it. But I can see how it would be helpful and it would be healthy to make this a practice of possibly dying every day. Which it just means just be present. You know, be here now.
And being present in nature for a few minutes. Or a simple act of kindness. What did Mother Teresa say? Not all of us can do great things, but small things with great love. Then there's the spiritual disciplines of the contemplatives. They chant, pray, and fast their way to kenosis. Sometimes seclude themselves in caves, wander in labyrinths, whirl in ecstasy. In the prehistory of our species, the more archaic techniques had the same goal. Drumming, scarification, perhaps the ingestion of visionary plants or fungi. Nowadays, that kenosis has been reported in carefully controlled scientific experiments where a growing body of literature is charting the relationship between psychedelic occasion mystical experience and nature connectedness, a potential antidote to Einstein's optical delusion, where Mother Earth is no longer just a metaphor, but part of that same holy mystery we once called God, above us, all around us, and within us, in the eternity of the here and now, where the one and the many coexist, where the past and the future collide, where to be empty is to be full, where death is awakening, where everything and nothing matters. And as Ram Dass once said, it's all perfect in its unbearable imperfection. Kind of a paradox. Then again, si comprehendis, non est Deus.
The only way to know God is to experience God, and the only way to experience God is to unlearn everything the ego has been trying so vigorously to manufacture since our infancy. The only way to experience God. So motherfucker, you're just redefining God, bro. Okay, that's cheese. I could do that. I could make this up. Hold on, I have something in my nose. I could do this. I'm not saying it's bullshit. It's just like, bro, I could do that. You're playing with the definition of what God is. Good play, by the way. People might not have caught it. You're playing with the definition of God. You're saying, this is what we're going to define God to be. And because we have now done so, we have made this the definition for what God is. And look at this. We even have people that agree. Look at this. Einstein, he's a fucking genius. Look at that. We now have credibility. We now have social proof. Look at that. Okay. Social proof. We got Albert Einstein, mentioning big names. He's clearly somebody that is to be trusted, possibly. Not just a random guy on the streets begging for money. And yeah, based on our definition, we can now successfully and completely rationally say the problem is your ego. And it all makes sense. It all just, we can put it together in this neat little package and present it to you. Welcome to every single story of God everywhere. See, people think that they're going to find that which is. They're going to find the truth of the universe just through reason, through rational discussion and discourse. We're going to get to that which is. We're going to see things how they really are, not just the world as we see it, phenomena, but nomina, the world as it is, that beyond our senses, just that which is. We could not access that, so it's like, you know what I mean, every single time we're just gonna make some kind of explanation and give it to you in a nice little neat package because we want it to be simple. And we think we can arrive at the truth. And it all makes sense. And we're going to have this worldview. And it's all going to, correlate. And there's capital T truths that can be found. I don't buy it. But nonetheless, let me know what you guys think. I'll be catching you guys in the next one. Sorry I made this one so long. Video made it twice as long as the normal video. But you know, when it comes to this kind of stuff, I have to, it's more of a commentary on the video more than a reaction, really. I usually do this for these kinds of special videos. I gotta go blow my nose. I'll see you guys. Thank you for watching. If you made it all the way through to the end, oh my god, how have you done that? You're the GOAT. You gotta let me know, because like I'll pin you, like please, and sub all of that.